All right. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this month's Inkwell Poetry Workshop with Sammi Walker. Today's workshop titled Cliches. It's all in caps, so trying to bring it. The courage to play with your words will explore how we can take seemingly familiar phrases and transform them in our poetry. Before we begin, I would like to remind all attendees that this workshop is being recorded and will be posted on our county website and social media accounts. But by participating in the workshop, you agree to being included in the recording. We will have a question and answer segment after Sammi's presentation, as well as an opportunity for attendees to create their own poems based on prompts that Sammi has prepared special for this event. She has also shared out a document that has dozens and dozens and dozens of cliches. And if you go to the content in next to the chat button, if you go to the content, which is those three little dots, you can click on content. That file is right there. You can start taking a look at that now if you would like to. If you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, you can either raise your hand, just use the raise hand feature here in WebEx, or you can also drop it in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat throughout the workshop, so that way, Sammi can kind of focus on what she's doing, but we'll make sure to get everyone's questions answered. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our July Inkwell Poet Mentor, Sammi Walker. Sammi Walker is an internationally ranked and 9 times published poet from Salt Lake City, Utah. She formerly produced Salt City Slam and Page to Stage writing workshops, along with coaching in various high schools around the Salt Lake Valley before moving to Las Vegas, where she was on the Spotlight Poetry Slam team as a coordinator and competitor. Sammi has set foot on many stages around the U.S., like the Bigfoot Regional Slam, Women of the World International Slam, Chill List, Charm City, and many other stages on her 2024 tour. She was a keynote speaker for the 2025 Utah Quills Writing Conference, and she is now the co-founder and communications director of Salt Cured Collective, Salt Lake's next upcoming LLC for the literary arts. Awesome name for a collective, by the way, like just very cool. So without any further ado, I'll pass it over to Sammi so that she can get us started this morning. Sammi, I'm going to make you the presenter just in case you want to do anything with that. You have the power.
Sounds good. Alrighty. Hello, everybody. How are we doing this morning? Good? I don't know the time zones where everybody's at. It's a little too early on my end, but that's okay. We're gonna get through this, get a little more energy as we go. Um, I'm assuming if you're here, you write poetry or write in general. But I want to know kind of like what kind of writers we have. Are you like a slam poet? Are you a page poet? Do you do prose, short stories?
Can we just like talk? I think
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say, uh, I feel like I read a lot of different things, but it tends to be more on the page, more abstract and symbolic. And then I also do a lot of like found poetry and redaction and like writing onto things, writing onto books, and sort of visual poetry in that way.
Awesome. And then it looks like we have page and visual from Lily. Awesome. So, obviously all of my stuff starts on the page. But I would say I am not a page poet whatsoever. I feel like you have to have a level of um what's the word I'm looking for? Like um education. Does that make sense to write? I feel like everything on the page seems more sophisticated to me. And like obviously everything I write is intentional, but I applaud anyone who's like actually doing like page poetry because I unless it's like edited by several editors, nobody's looking at my docs, you know? Like those docs are for me. Um Looks like we also have more page poets in the chat. Awesome. So hopefully this workshop will also help you guys out because I feel like everybody runs into cliches and we I feel like a lot of people don't really know what to do with them, which is fine. Um, what we're going to do today is kind of look at like what cliches are and then kind of turn them on their heads, add on to them, write into them, and make them something else entirely. So you will need something to write with, whether that's phone, computer, paper. And like we said earlier, there is a list of cliches in the content folder. If you guys want to take a look at those later, we will be getting into those shortly. Real quick, does anyone know just like the quick definition of what a cliche is? Feel free to drop it in the chat or just like unmute. I hate virtual workshops because I feel like everything I do, I'm just like waiting for a response. So if y'all want to
We'll
unmute,
get
that's fine.
we'll get warmed up. We'll get warmed
Yeah.
up. It's all good. Lily says she knows. Lily, do you want to come off mic? Oh, overused phrase, line, concept. That feels pretty
Yep.
good.
Hmm.
I was gonna say something like usually like a colloquialism, like something that's very just like conversational. I feel like idioms sometimes get to be cliches too, like stuff that just become like just overused metaphors, maybe. Maybe could be a
Yeah,
part of it.
definitely. So an example of a cliche would be like rose-colored glasses. I'm gonna be so honest, I hate that one so much, but that's okay. We work with it. Um, so the reason why I like to talk about cliches is because I think that they're actually really important when it comes to writing and knowing and understanding how they work. Because while we try to avoid them most of the time, or at least that's what I was taught, was to avoid cliches when you're writing, they can bring this sense of familiarity to the like reader or the listener. So it kind of in a way makes them feel more comfortable with what they're reading or listening to. But if you do it too many times or too much in like one poem, then they can kind of start predicting what you're going to say. So if we can learn how to kind of give them that same familiarity, but also like kind of throw them a curveball, I think it's a nice middle ground when you're reading or listening to a poem. So what we're gonna do is I need everybody. So you're gonna make two lists, a list of 5 on one side and a list of 5 on the other side, and you're going to write 5 cliches and then 5 cliches. Just any of them. You can feel free to use the ones that are in the chat if you want to Google something. I can also see if this works. I have a small list that I can drop in the chat if you want to use those. Um, I think the document I have in the content folder has over 300 cliches, so feel free to just like pick randomly. And I'll give you guys a few minutes for this.
Sorry, what's the two different lists again? So one's just cliches and what's the other list?
They're just both cliches. I just need a list of 5 on one side and a list of 5 on the other side.
Okay, cool.
So real quick, just in case, just 2 lists of 5 and just different cliches in each list.
I see in your list you've got pig in a poke. What does that mean? This might be British of me, but I've never heard that one. A pig in a poke.
In the list I shared in the chat.
Yeah, pig in a poke.
Let's see.
Pig in a poke, I think, is that like a Southernism? I feel like it's not one. It's one that like I've heard in passing. It's a regional. It's a regionalism. I think in the U.S. It's not one from the Midwest or like the Southwest, which are the 2 areas that I'm most familiar with. But I've heard it before.
That's brilliant. Yeah. It's not a cliche here, but I'll be using it all the time now. I'm adopting that. That's I'm gonna be saying that to everyone.
No, like low key, like some of our like regionalisms are like so flavorful and kind of textural. Like there's some fun stuff. There's some fun stuff. We like. I know that the U.S. has bastardized the English language in many ways, but we've also added some really interesting texture to it. So yeah.
Yeah, and that
Search,
the one in the content folder, that is just like every cliche. Like I googled for probably like 4 hours, and I just alphabetical order all the cliches I could find. So there's probably some that nobody's ever heard of, but like regionally they may be different. But I figured add as many as possible, and then y'all can pick which ones float your boat. So
from a Google search, a pig in a poke. Something that's like valuable among things that like aren't. So like a diamond in a rough or a needle in a back.
You could have given me hours, and I'd never have guessed that.
and then once you guys have your 5, if you want to like put a little hand up or like give me a thumbs up or drop something in the chat just saying that you're ready, but we have a lot of time, so feel free to not rush. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. All right. It looks like we have mostly thumbs up. So if you're still writing stuff, that's okay. I'm just going to explain what the next part is. So personally, I think that starting with a malaphor is easier when you're trying to kind of dissect cliches. Does anyone know what a malaphor is? It was a new word for me too. I was like, "Ooh, I like this. I'm just gonna steal this and like put it in a workshop."
Ooh, I don't know that one, Sammy. I have 3 degrees in English and I've never come across that one. Tell us.
So a malaphor is when you take like one cliche and you take another cliche and then you combine them together to make something new. So technically, you're still giving the audience the familiarity that they want, but you're turning it on their head so they can't guess what your next play is essentially. So, for an example, usually I would do this with partners, but since we're on Zoom, you're just going to take one from each side of your list, and that's how we're going to combine them. They don't need to be like each number threes, like you can do whatever you need to do to mash them. But so, like for my list 1, I had It Takes a Village. And then for my list 2, I had Great Minds Think Alike. So when I mash them together, it takes great minds to build a village. Does that make sense, kind of, a little bit? So what I want you to do is just go through your 5 and then mash them together. Just one from each side. Try not to reuse any of them just so they're even. But if you want to do like number 2 from this list, number 5 from this list, that's fine. And I'll give you a few minutes to do that. And then I want to hear what you guys come up with.
I'm sorry. Are we supposed to just like do from the top, sorry, how do I explain this? Are we supposed to like just choose and match how we want, or go the one that was the first one in the first list goes with the one that was first on the second list?
Whichever way you want to do it. If you want to just line up your 1s, 2s, 3s, that's fine. Or if you're like, those don't really match really well, so I want to do like number 2 from this list and number 5 from this list, that's also fine.
Okay. Was there an initial way to do it though, or no?
No, it's just however you think you can mash them together. There's not like a set way of doing it, or like this half needs to come from this one and this half needs to come from this one. It's literally just however you can combine them to kind of make it sound like you can pull out which phrases are still there, but it's something new.
Oh, so we're rewriting the cliche to not sound cliche.
Yeah, so like I had said, I had It Takes a Village and Great Minds Think Alike. So the mashup would be It Takes Great Minds to Build a Village.
Okay.
Does that
All
make
right.
sense?
Yeah, so you are rewriting it a little. You're not just linking them and reading them exactly as is.
Yeah.
Okay.
If
All
you need
right.
to add a few
Gotcha.
words, that's fine.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah,
like
I'm
you're almost like
trying.
remixing it, kind of like you're kind of like that's at least that's what's kind of sort of making sense to me. Yeah, like the concept
Yeah.
makes sense. It's just harder than it looks. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
It's
just
hard
didn't
because
know
there's
how
not
much. Sorry, I'm
it's
getting used to the microphone here. Okay,
oh, you're good.
I'm gonna get to work on this. This is cool. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain because there's not like a set way of doing it. So it's just however makes sense for you, and you can mash them together, um, but still make the 2 phrases like prominent so we could pull them out if we needed to. And yes, Rebecca, that is correct. The blind as a bat, free as a bird, blind as a free bird would be a good one. I also dropped my example in the chat if you guys needed to look at it again.
Oh, Lily's better safe than a bull in a china shop. I love that.
That's a
That's
good
fun.
one. I like that.
I end up kind of mixing like two and some of them three. I don't know. I kind of just kept going. It's like hard to get started with it, but like now I'm like, oh, okay, I see what we're doing. That's cool.
Yeah, the first like one or two, you're like, I don't know what to do. And then like you get the hang of it and you're like, oh man, I could keep doing this.
No, it's an interesting thought starter. That's cool. I'm curious to hear what everyone came up with.
Don't judge a book by its last words. Okay. I love that one.
Oh, Mirage, did you have a question? It's your hand went up, but then it went down. Jamie, don't rain on my biscuit. I like that one. In the southern mood. I like that.
And then once you guys have some, if you want to drop them in the chat or if you want to tell us them, either way, it has been about almost 8 minutes. Usually I count for like 10. So if you guys still want the last 2 minutes, that's fine. I know these ones can kind of be hard at first.
On that list, I'd chosen some of the cat related ones, and then I have a couple like dog related ones that like Jamie started talking about like the southern regionalisms, and I was thinking like that dog don't hunt, like a hit dog will holler, things like that. I went
Mhm.
one of mine. Cats have stolen all our tongues, and the dogs are hollering, getting hit with the truth.
Oh, I like that. And it's crazy too how like you can just keep adding to it. Like there's
Yeah.
it doesn't need to stop.
No, it's cool. Like blood may be thicker than water, but here I am biting the bullet because you were caught red-handed. Like it's neat. Like I said, I'm really Imogen out of sight into the frying pan. Yes.
And then we probably won't have time like today to share them. We might at the end, but as a challenge, if you guys want to take like all of your Malifaux and then like write a poem, it's really interesting to see like how the poem just kind of like writes itself and you don't really need to add in a lot of things. But then you can keep adding in different Malifaux like as you go if you need to extend it. The early bird shoe fits. I like that one. Tasty as a pig in a pie. Getting a little hungry. All right. It has been 10 minutes. How are we looking on our lists? Good? Anyone want to share more?
I can share mine.
Okay.
So okay, I'll just read the 5 off. So all that glitters changes the air. The early bird catches a new leaf. When it rains, follow your dreams. Better safe than food for thought. And what goes around comes back home. And I really love the idea of using the Malfours in poetry. As you're saying, it makes so much sense.
Yeah. I really like that last one. Can you read it one more time?
What goes around comes back home.
That by itself could be like a whole poem.
Wow, yeah. Yeah.
Anyone else want to share theirs? I always feel so awkward in between.
Can share one. Well, I'll share two. One I did more like rewriting it. So I don't
Okay.
know. Okay, the room illuminated as the corner of her lips curved upward as darkness tried to consume me. And then I just wrote like one a little bit more obvious jump for joy, knowing we all have demons.
I like both those. You're already like writing the poem. It's always so cool to see like which ones people pick because obviously like all that glitters is not gold is one that you hear a lot, and I feel like because people know that one they'll like use it, but then it's cool to see like what other one they'll mash it with. I don't think I've ever heard the same Malfour twice, and I've taught this workshop probably 15 times, so it's really cool to see like all the combinations we can do. Okay, so we have taken we know what cliches are. We've taken 2 cliches, we've mashed them together, and now we're gonna kind of like spread them out and break them down. Okay, so what I like to do is I follow this list. It's called Paint, Zoom, Mash, Sense. So here, let me drop this into the chat just so y'all can see. So essentially what I like to do is take one item or phrase or whatever and expand on that to see where we can go with it, especially if you're kind of like stuck writer's block or like you don't feel like the poem's really going anywhere anymore. It's just nice because I feel like sometimes people will be like, okay, so I need to travel through the story from here to here, so I'm going to use these different points, and then maybe you get stuck here before you get to your ending point. Usually, what I'll like to do is expand here and go this way versus this way. Does that make sense? So, let's see here. So, starting with the paint, I mean, it's kind of self explanatory, but you're going to be adding like a new color or a different name to something. So I don't like to say red, I would say like crimson. So just easy switches like that. Or like don't say yellow, say it was macaroni colored. My favorite thing is to go and Google the Crayola color list names, because they have like an entire sheet, and it used to be my phone background when I was like doing competition writing for school, and I would just like pick colors off of there. It was way more helpful, but it just like adds a little bit more spice to something that maybe was a little flat. And it's super simple. And I can see while we're writing, I'll see if I can find that and if I can drop it in the chat, because I think they've updated it since I was using it. Next, I like to zoom in on a specific detail and enhance it. So, like if I said her clothes were worn in, you would talk about one specific item, and then bring us into a memory. So, like her shoes were still stained with grass, wet from the sunset summer picnic that got cut short from the sprinklers turning on. Like, just even if it's not a poetic line, just kind of writing until you find something that you can use. And then mashing is basically what we just did, taking two or more phrases, putting them together, moving things around, see how you can shake it up a little bit. And then sense, just using more of your senses to put into a sentence. Talk about how things smelled, the texture of things, sounds, all that stuff. So I'm gonna drop another list in the chat. These are the 6 examples that I want everyone to use for this one. Using those breakdowns, I just want you to rewrite the 6 sentences. They don't need to be a full poem, just however you would put your spin on said line. Make sense? Okay. And I'll drop this list that I just read off to you guys, so you can kind of see the breakdowns of everything again, because I tend to talk fast, especially when I am on Zoom or online, because nobody's interrupting me. So, but I'll give you guys a few I also just put in the chat the Crayola website because they have updated their list. It starts out with like basic colors, like it'll say red, yellow, whatever, but then it shows you every hue of every color that they make and their specific name. So if there is a specific color you're going for and you want to use that name, they have every name just listed if you click on it. And if anyone's stuck, what I like to do is start with asking questions about each thing. So, for example, like he was angry. He was angry at who? Why was he angry? What color is anger? Was it loud anger or soft anger? Um, she ate the food. What kind of food was it? What did the food taste like? What was the texture? Where did it come from? Who made it? Sort of thing. So then you can just answer your questions with colors or senses or experiences or memories to kind of help out. I'm gonna give you guys like 5 more minutes if you need it, but feel free to give me a thumbs up whenever you're done. About 2 minutes left. Start finishing up your last words, details, sentences. All right. How do we do? Good, bad, didn't like it, liked it. It was all right. Some thumbs up. Okay.
I'll go first. I'll get us started here. So I rewrote all 5 of the ones, but then I kind of went back and like dug deeper on like one of them that kind of I thought was like, I don't know, just it was speaking to me a little bit more. So I apologize if I didn't fully hit the assignment, but this is sort of what my final thing I came up with. He felt the stark white fear, but boys will be boys, so he can't feel white hot fear. But boys will be boys, so he transforms that white fear to white privilege. But boys will be boys, so white fear expresses as white anger, caught blood-handed but still viewed through peachy glasses, because boys will be boys until we all come tumbling down. I wasn't sure how to end it, so that's where I ended up. But I was sort of my remix of the 4th sentence. He was angry. But yeah, so that's where I got. That's as far as I got.
Awesome. And I like that you could also like the cliches that you were pulling in. You could still tell where, but they weren't fully finished. Anyone else want to share?
I want to hear other people's.
I had I sort of liked. I didn't do too much of pulling in cliches. I mean, I did something. It was unpoetic, just like prose. Is 5:30 shadowed. Fuck. I can't read my own handwriting. Her eyes 5:30 shadows swallowed before the forkful reached her. 2 of them became story-like and almost plays on the some genres of literature. I could see in the way she it that it wouldn't leave her mind for the next 40 years until one day, woke in the night, feeling as though something of great complexity had been lost. For the rest of her life, she told them, the neighbor with the morning smile, the town of people she wished she had known sooner, about it. Every for the past 40 years, someone will mention it. Everyone will be thrown right back into that.
All right. I liked it. I think, Sammy, did we lose you? I think we might have lost Sammy. Our connection's getting it got a little bit fuzzy there for a second. So I'll just, we'll just chat for a little bit until Sammy comes back on here. So Imogen, can you tell me did you kind of incorporate all 6 of the sentences, or was there one that like was kind of your starting point for that?
That second one was she thought it was interesting and they're still thinking of it. And I just left the it as ambiguous.
Yeah, I feel like
How
anytime
broad.
yeah.
Sorry,
That's
I don't
cool.
know what happened. Everything just shut down.
Oh, all good. I think we just lost you for a second, but we're good. I'm gonna make you the presenter again, so that way you
Okay.
have the power.
Okay, sorry. I didn't get any of that. I want to hear it one more time.
Okay. The first one, 5:30 shadowed, swallowed before the forkful reached her lips. And then the 2 I combined into one large thing that was more prosaic. See in the way she held it. As though something, a headline, a story, a puzzle of great complexity had been lost. And for the rest of her life, she told them, the family, with her morning smiles, the town of people she wished known sooner, about it. Every so often, for the past 40 years, some back.
Awesome. Sorry, it was still cutting out, so I got most of it, but from what I heard, I really liked it. Anyone else want to share?
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind sharing.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. It's a bit of a long poem, but this is how it starts. The world spun a tale to torment her as ruby-colored ribbons of chaos collude with midnight blue to bully. Thankfully, what goes around comes back home and finds its once amused master unmagnetized. Though she knew not what she held in her hands, she knew it had come from beyond dusk, beyond the darkness to feed her, to keep her strong. So she ate the food, better safe than starving, than food for thought. She looked to the sky as the sun broke through inky night to dawn to remind her of the truth she held blind in her hands in the dark. The early bird often catches a new leaf, and this early bird found herself with handfuls. The truth she couldn't see but knew to consume had awakened the day. As the golden rays shone upon the day, she looked down to see her treasure. All that glitters changes the air. In her hands she held tomorrow, the hope of the new, born again in her belly.
Dang, y'all just be like writing the poems. I just wanted lines. I'm very impressed every time. I feel like
Jamie got a good one. The mob sang a chorus of scarlet anger as they marched, their pitchforks casting dancing shadows in the cold torchlight.
Mm.
That feels really atmospheric to me.
And I like like you think of torchlight and it's not cold, but I like that you said cold torchlight specifically.
You know, Jamie, you know what it reminds me of? And I don't know if this reference is going to hit for you at all, but it reminds me a little bit of like the Dark Souls video games a little bit when you talk about like cold flame, cold torchlight, like kind of that really like dropped out, almost kind of gothic kind of vibe. It's neat. Anyway.
The imagery is there for sure.
Oh, it was so beautiful, everybody. So I can read. I don't know. Let's see. Okay. It was New Year. It was a new year. I dug into fresh, steaming black-eyed peas, hoping to find the coin his grandmother had placed into the cooking pot. Whoever found it would have luck and prosperity for the coming year. I stirred my bowl, turned the beans, listening to the clink against the big ceramic dish. Then a whoop, he had found the copper penny. He rushed to the sink to wash it off. His grandmother laughed with a southern accent adds, "Why, you're a thief. It was intended for her." She was harmless trickery, and they laughed. He had coin. I kept that coin in a jewelry box. Later, we sang his grandmother at the piano a song my mother had sung to me, "This Little Penny." I thought it was interesting, a song I had mother's chords.
I like that. Also, I think this is just my like poetry tism brain, but like the fact that you used rush before you got to like the sink, like it just like also gave me like that water image like of the sink turning on, like rushing water. I think that's just a mutism though, but I really liked that.
I'll take it. That's always good because that may be something that can be used in it. Or yes, I use a lot of water in my writing always. I think maybe a lot of people do, but one of my poet friends said I have like a gigantic document of everything I've ever written in every workshop from starting in since the pandemic. So it's like so many pages. But I did like a search for certain words, like cliche words. I don't know, like journey. And it
Yeah.
was amazing how many times it came up in my document. And then I got into it to see like and it doesn't mean you can't use it, but like when did I use it? And certain cliche words that I relied on and or patterns. That was kind of, interesting. So I liked this this idea of how do you turn it on its head. That's why I came to your workshop. This has been very cool.
And that's cool to see though that you have that document, because it's like if you do look up something like that and you can also see like the progress of like how you're using it too. I think that's really cool to see.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Y'all are great. So the way I like to structure my workshops typically is like we write like a line, and then we write a paragraph, and then we write a poem essentially, but you guys have been ahead of me the entire time. So the next prompt is for your actual poem. What I want us to do first though is when I say the word love, I want to know like what words you think of, and I want us to put them all in the chat. So when I think of love, I think of the color red. I think of flowers. What else? Chocolate. Yep. Hugs. Your fiance. Your mom. That's so cute. A lot of the time, love poems involve the moon, the stars, family. Perfect. And I just for like 2 minutes, I want everyone to just like dump all of the words that you think of when you think of the word love. Picnics, awesome. Acceptance, heart, holding. This is food, freedom. Lace, I like that one. Patience, also a good one. Loss, weddings, happiness, heartbreak, grief, moon and stars. Touch. Like 30 more seconds. Dogs, I like that one. Eternal, forever. Okay, perfect. So feel free, like if you're still typing, to send those real quick. But now what I want you to do is I want you to write a poem that is a love poem, but you're not allowed to use any of the words in the chat. So if we said like flowers, that includes any type of flowers. If we said, I didn't get to read all of them because they were coming in really fast on my end, but like dogs, any breed of dogs, can't mention it. So I have a list of like some ideas if you guys get stuck or need like a starter. Just like some prompt ideas, but requirements has to be a love poem, and a love poem looks different for everybody. So whatever version a love poem is for you, there's no length limit. I at least want like 3 lines though, because I know y'all can write that. And then you can't use any word that's in the chat or variation of said word. Again, like if we said flowers, no flowers, period. Sound good? Okay. I'm gonna give you guys some time because this one's a little rough. So let me know if you guys have questions.
Sorry, Sammy. I'm older, and this new WebEx, I'm having trouble, so it's taking me like a second. I just had a quick question. I don't know if
Yeah.
my words went into the chat, so I didn't. I can put one in, so but I couldn't see.
Yeah.
Oh, I was showing on. Wait,
I
I'm
think,
showing on mute.
Erica, were your words lost, found, pain, desire, dreams, fantasy? Because if they were, they are in there, which is great.
Okay. I don't. That's so weird. My mute keeps going on and off. I don't
Oh.
know. Like I keep getting muted, which is probably good because I don't mean to be distracting. I think it's working. Okay, it's working now.
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah.
you good now, Erica. But you know, it's okay. We make it work. You know, it's no big deal. We'll do our best.
And it looks like there are some words in there from you that we can see, at least.
Mm, but can you still hear me? Because my thing shows mute, but I think you can still hear me. So, but my microphone is showing like red. I don't want to be off mute, is what I mean. And it's still like my thing shows red on the
Yeah,
my screen.
I understand, Erica. I mean, like, I think I can mute you on my end. I can just do that for you. I don't know how that's going to impact it on your end, but I can try that real quick if you would like.
I'm just saying that my thing shows red on the screen, and then it looked like you could still hear me. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
you know, unfortunately, without seeing what's happening on here, I'm not really sure why WebEx would be doing that. So, like I said, we can just kind of do the best we can here. Like I said, because I'm sort of like I have the master controls here. I can just auto mute you, but you know, I don't want you to like never be able to talk on here again. You know what I mean? But I can do that right now while we're writing. Hey, Sammy, I have to step away for like 5 minutes. If you need me, just holler. I still have it on so I can hear you, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Sorry. Hey, sorry, dude. We're doing Inkwell this weekend, but I can step away for a second. No, it's okay. Yeah. Well, I can tell you right now, without having been there, I can just look at your phone. And I know that you, and knowing you, I know you handled it as like well as you possibly could. Um, I think it sucks. I'm so sorry. I mean, he's playing on, you know that. No, so you don't have the resolution of like we can have a hug now or whatever it is that you whatever y'all say is. Yeah. Like no, can I call you if we're done in like 40 minutes? Oh, sorry, you're done now. Hello? Oh, I got you. All right, I'll call you back when I'm done here. All right, bye. I just realized I had my mute off that whole time. My bad, y'all. um, sorry. You know how it is. Sometimes you gotta be there for a friend for a moment.
You're all good. I think you were far enough away we didn't hear most things, so.
Excellent. I'm an open book, but not trying to bug y'all with it. We're still working on the love poems, yes?
Yes, I was gonna give y'all like 2 minutes. Sound good? Like 12, 20? Or whatever time you are, 20? Alrighty, how we doing? We got poems, we got words, we got lines at least. Maybe they don't make sense, but they're there.
I have one.
Okay, do you want to share?
Sure. Okay, this will be my last share before I have to log off because I have to go somewhere. So this is my love poem. Words that know how to lift me towards life, towards itself, towards depth, presence, passion, and potential. We are as a tree growing in a storm, unshaken by the winds, untethered to the torment, adorned with delight, unhurried and unafraid. We stand beyond time with a torch for tomorrow, unified in mission and in magnitude, to know life in its grandest form, as a song to be sung by two. So thank you so much, and I have to log
Awesome.
off. Definitely come to the next one. Thank
Everybody's
you.
been so good.
Thank
It's
you for
nice seeing
coming,
you.
Claire.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Anyone else want to share?
Okay. It's
Okay.
gone a far way from resembling. Through the pine tree falling in that windstorm in the backyard. Powerless, emptied, and wholly capable. The first time I saw underneath. And I knew all things be removed. And my burst outward, dripping and with drying soil, exposing the limbs underneath. Taking, I whittled that husk to a nub and sawdust between my fingers. That the tree back, or make me the way it did today.
Thank you for sharing. That was so good. I'm always amazed by what everyone's writing because I feel like when I'm in a workshop, I don't write that much.
Rebecca dropped hers in the chat. You heard my first heartbeat. I heard your last. You signed my birth certificate. I signed your death certificate. You wiped away my tears. I held your hand your very last breath until your very last breath. From every first to every last and all the in-betweens, our devotion is what fairy tales are made of. Oh my God, Rebecca. Like my heart. That's
Hurt my
amazing.
feelings a little bit, not gonna lie.
Oh, I was like, I gotta get through this. I gotta read it. Oh, God, Rebecca, I like the symmetry of your lines. Like, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but like, I like the symmetry of like the first and the last, the beginning and the end, and how like there's like a connection in that. That's really, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
A nice little mirrored image.
Yeah. I'll read mine. It's especially after coming after Rebecca's, it's not going to be as heavy. It's about when I went and adopted my soul cat for the first time, so a little lighter, I guess. Um, Walking into the shelter that evening in August, I didn't know you yet. Bundles of fluffy, furry, purring joy abound, but you were still waiting to be found. I see you out of the corner of my eye, the would-be soul cat of my 20-somethings. You sauntered to the front of your cage, and a headbutt was all I needed, and it's a move you still use 13 years later to get what you want. Agent Scully, Scuttlebutt, the Great Scullini, Darth Scullius, so many names for a singular kitty. I tried.
I like the cat theme today.
You know, I didn't go into it intentionally, but if you were to look at my desk, I think it would kind of make sense. So
Fair. I have a little tiny one because I always get nervous writing when I'm teaching the workshop because I feel like I'm gonna forget that I'm like timing y'all. Mine was there's a pile of laundry in the corner, too small now to wrap around a body. We watch a belly grow into laughter, into maroon lines and royal fabric. This house smells of dark oak stain. It feeds off of deep breaths and strong hands. The cluttered room becomes tiny shoes and pink tutus. It becomes packed hospital bags and car seats. It becomes a last breath before a baby.
I like the imagery.
Thank you, thank you. Alrighty, so technically that's the end of the workshop, but I like to leave like 30 minutes at the end. If anybody has like questions, or like if maybe we just talked too long somewhere else, or if people got inspired by something else and wrote something again that they wanted to share, or usually this is where people are like, hey, you didn't share a poem, so now you have to share a poem. Um, so how do we want to go about this last 30 minutes? Anybody have questions, comments, concerns, emotional outbursts?
Well, I know I have questions for you, Sammy, just because I'm curious about your work and everything.
Yeah.
So like what is the current what's your current project? Like what's the thing that's kind of like feeding your soul right now, like in terms of your writing?
I'm gonna be so honest. I have been lost off the face of the earth for like 8 months, because I'm about to have this baby in a few weeks. So I have just been painting, been kind of avoiding the poetry writing nonsense of it all. Um, thank you, thank you. Saw the congrats in the chat. After she's here, I'm hoping to step back into competing, but that means I have to write again, and I've been 8 months without a poem, so a little nervous for that. I know that our local scene actually just lost their poetry venue,
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm hoping by the time I am back and kicking, there'll be a new venue to return to. And then honestly, I miss the organizing of things over competing, honestly. So I think we'll dive back into organizing slams, organizing workshops. I've been trying to, I have a Google document, or more like a, what do you call it, where you fill it out?
Like a form, like a Google form? Yeah.
Yeah. Where I've been trying to add as many poets onto there as possible, so we can kind of coordinate people coming through, like wanting to do tours and stuff, hooking up different people so we can hit, like, they can start in Portland and in Texas, and they come through the states.
Yeah. Make
And
sure
I
to
would
stop
love,
in Vegas. There's places in Vegas.
yes,
Vegas has got to be a stop on that way. And I know
oh,
that
definitely.
we have a few folks in the that joined this workshop, plus some others that I know would be really excited about something like that. So kind of it's so it sounds like that, like you're just as excited about kind of like the poetic, like the poetic community organization, as you are about like just simply producing and performing your own artwork. Is that kind of where like Salt Cured Collective came from? Like, can you tell us a little bit more about that project? Because I'm mostly just because I'm curious.
Um, yes. So funny enough, that started like a month before we found out about the baby.
Isn't that
So,
just how life is
um,
sometimes? There's got to be a
so
metaphor about like giving birth, or like the creative process. Like there's your next collection is going to. I feel like you'll have inspiration on the other side of this. Anyway,
yeah, so she's been kind of like sitting in my back pocket, because also my poetry partner who was working on it with me, Holton, got a job at an airline and now lives in Chicago. So I was like, let's fill this out. Let me get my energy back, and then we'll start again. But the plan is to kind of open a second poetry slam here in Salt Lake, and then push some more writing workshops, because I went to our local like quills conference last year, and there was a lot of people who were like, how do I like, I do a lot of page stuff, but I didn't know the slam thing was a thing. So how do I like get involved? Where can I get workshops? So kind of figuring out where to do all of that stuff while
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, so it
resting.
sounds like a lot of like kind of creating the connective tissue between the page and the page and the stage, maybe, which
Yes.
is literally the name of one of the things. So, no, that makes sense though. Like when you talk to folks who maybe they're a page poet, because I know that like when you asked that question at the beginning, a lot of us were page poets, right?
Mhm.
Folks that, and I didn't drop an answer in the chat, but like my poetry pretty much lives like in the notebooks I use for this and like my journal. Like I've done one open mic, which I plan to do more. But what would be, if you're talking to someone who maybe doesn't have as much experience like with the actual performance aspect of poetry, like, what would be kind of your advice? Like was there a piece of advice that was ever given to you that was kind of like just that spark that got you going with it? Like what kind of sticks out to your mind like when I ask that question?
Um, so I feel like I started mm, in a weirder way than most people, because I switched high schools right before I went into high school, like my first year, and the only elective that they had open was slam poetry. And I was like, this sounds stupid. I don't want to write poetry. Like, but here I am 12 years later. Um, so I would say just like there are slams and open mics going on everywhere in every state all around. That's why I liked the thought of this document, because a lot of them are unknown to most people unless you're like in the scene, you know.
Right.
So I would say like try to find your local like Instagram, great place to look, your local slams, open mics, and then even just like taking workshops, and then going on like button poetry right about now. Charm City is a great one to look at, because I feel like it's more recent poets, whereas like button poetry, I feel like they're pulling from their archived footage, which is still fine, but like find a poet that kind of fits your vibe and then start trying to write. I would say not like obviously don't copy, but like try to write in their style first if it vibes with you, and then figure out like how to pull away and then find your own style. And maybe your style is like a mix of like 8 different people, and that's fine.
So it sounds like kind of a combo of like, be curious,
Mhm.
like seek it out, fill your toolbox with, different workshops and, kind of taking in different writers. But it kind of sounds like, from, if I'm reading between the lines from what you're saying, is that you kind of just have to be brave and do it a little bit, right? Like, and
Yeah.
I think that's tough for a lot of folks. But I could totally see how for the folks that like they kind of cut their teeth on the stage, how the page then becomes like intimidating.
Mhm.
Now that being said, you have multiple collections of like page poetry that you've published. So, can you talk at all a little bit about like what that experience was like getting published? Because I know that a lot of our local poets, at least for folks I've spoken to here in Clark County, um, that's one of the next steps that they're looking to take is like, okay, I have this body of poetry. I've been doing the slams, I've been doing the open mics, I've been, maybe even done a few features here or there around town. Maybe it's time to kind of put together my own collection. What was that experience like for you as you kind of gone through that process a couple times?
um I would say do as I say, not as I do on this one. Um, because like I said, I'm mostly spoken word slam. Obviously, like I have dabbled in page, but like blank document, intimidating to me. Like I would rather sit in a IHOP parking lot with my slam friends in my car and like say a poem out loud on our notes app and then write it down and edit it later. Um, but because like I said earlier, I feel like the page stuff is more, I feel like, academic. And I don't feel like I personally have the brain for that. I talk in like run-on sentences. Like, I thank God for editors because there's not a single punctuation in my document. um,
You know what? It's about
and
figuring out what works for you. And it's like, if you're like,
yes.
you know what, I know punctuation is not my jam and my jelly. That's when you get a friend who like that is their entire jam and jelly.
Yes, love me a comma, never a period. Um, or my version of punctuation on a page is just hitting enter. That's a new thought for me. Um, but in terms of like actually publishing, I did all of my stuff through KDP on Amazon just because I have OCD and I'm kind of a control freak, and I didn't want other people's hands in it telling me what I could and couldn't do. So I would say that's probably like the best place to start. Um, Obviously, like, go and like submit for journals and stuff. But I personally, this is where I say do as I say, not as I do. I don't have the patience to wait to know if I have made a journal and then having to edit with them and then coming up with a cover. And it's like it takes a year or two to put out the book sometimes, and I'm like, dude, I need merch for my event next week. Like, this is the merch.
You're like, we gotta
So
go.
yes, so I will, most of my collections are actually my slam poems that I've just grouped together, and so I'll have somebody edit it because the way I talk and the way it should be read are not the same. And then my stepdad is actually a tattoo artist, so he's drawn most of my covers. And then I just upload it to KDP and have
There you
him send
go.
me prints. So
There
it's
you
super
go.
easy. Love doing it that way because you get the author copies versus having to like pay the actual price of them. So
Yeah, the nuances of traditional publishing. It's interesting. I was just having a conversation about that exact topic yesterday with some of our local poets here in town, and you know, it's I think it's a nuanced conversation, like that conversation about like the pros and cons of like a more traditional route for that versus more of the I think self-publishing has like I feel like that phrase kind of carries a certain kind of connotation now, but maybe the DIY publishing like aspect of it. But yeah, I mean, but I think what you hit on though is a real experience for folks is that timeline, right? Like the fact that like you know like my experience in publishing, I worked in academic publishing in grad school for a little while, and yeah, the timeline is, you know, you're lucky if you see that article, you know, 2 years after you submitted it. Like that's
yeah.
that's when everything's firing in all cylinders, right? So but it sounds like in your experience you found that being able to like move it a little bit faster click for you at least kind of outweighs the, I don't know what word I want to use. I feel like there's a kind of prestige that sometimes we feel like comes with traditional publishing, and I can argue all sorts of sides of that, but like, but I think the time frame though is a real consideration because you travel and you, well, normally like you would travel and
Yeah.
tour and kind of do all the things, right? No,
Mhm.
that totally makes sense. So
I will
um
say though, the like you said, that kind of like stigma of being self-published though, um has its pros and cons. I It's hard, like, depending on what your goals are, is how you need to look at how you want to publish. Because in terms of being like, I don't know everybody's like state poet laureate rules, but like in Utah, to be a Utah poet laureate, you have to have a published book that's not self-published. Like, self-published is not considered in most cases like being published, which
yeah,
I think is crazy because I feel like while the publisher is doing all the work in the other case, like if you self-publish, you're doing all the work, and it's a lot of work. And so I feel
yeah.
like it should be recognized as like being published, but
Mm,
like when I say I have 9 published whatevers, they only count like 3 of them because I have
right.
6 self-published books, but 3 of them are actual like poems published by a publisher, which drives
Yeah.
me up the wall sometimes.
Well, like as we're talking about this, it's making me think about the fact too that like with poetry, especially just the way that most folks like interact with it, like I think that there's a real like part of that foundation is a little bit of that DIY aspect. Like I'm thinking zines, I'm thinking chapbooks, I'm thinking of things that have been part of not just like poetry communities, but like punk communities and like counterculture communities and just ways that we have connected with each other and like shared that information that wasn't burdened by the kind of big capitalist superstructure that is publishing, right? Like
Yes.
so yeah, no, I think like you bring up some really interesting elements, and you talk about like the Utah Poet Laureate. I don't know what the state of Nevada rule is. I know that, in Clark County, that's not strictly a requirement necessarily, but it is, but nonetheless, it is something that is taken into consideration. And it's one of those things that,
Mhm.
depending on the room you walk into, different people are going to have kind of different opinions like about that, I suppose. But, it does seem to me though, at least that it's a really worthy conversation to have, because I think if we lean too much on the traditional publishing, I think you lose the texture that's the kind of grassroots version of that, which I feel like what you're describing is kind of maybe one of the manifestations of that grassroots organizing, right?
Mhm. And I think too, like my favorite thing going into like a regional slam or like a international slam is that there's usually like a market that is held on one of the days in between the workshops, and everybody just brings their merch, and whether that's just like a printed version of a poem with like some little drawings on it, or that's like a bound book, or like it's a paper book that was hand stapled from like you printing it off at home. I'm gonna buy every single version of everything because I think it's cool. I actually went to Arizona on one of my tours, and my favorite thing is to trade for books because I run out of money so fast buying the books. I'm like, like if you just want to trade, like that'll be easier for both of us. Um,
I feel like
but
like laughs in OG like Scholastic Book Fair kid who always wanted to buy all the things.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, I have over. I think I'm up to like 450 now on my poetry books. It's really bad. It's insane. Um, but there was this high school kid that came to one of my features. There was an open mic after, and he read, and he came and was looking at my merch afterward. And I was like, "Hey, I really like the poem that you shared. Like, do you?" Because he was reading out of something. I couldn't see because I was kind of in the back. But I was like, "Do you have a copy of it, or like I'll buy your book or we can trade?" And he held up his book, and it is this big, and it is two cardboard pieces that he hand stitched together with some yarn, and then typed his poems on a typewriter and cut them out to size and glued them together to make a book. And he's like, "This is what I have." And I said, "I will trade you whatever you want to have that book. If you don't need it, I would like it." And it's like one of my favorite little books I have over there now. So like I miss the like while you're getting more credit, I guess, for like your bigger publishings, like I like the nitty gritty. I want you to like put your heart and soul into every little page. I want that version, you know?
Yeah,
I
no,
prefer
like it feels it feels closer to its origin point in a like
Mhm.
maybe I'm not describing that well, but like because like for me like as you're describing this handmade book that you now have in your collection, like that's a much more singular story than I went to the bookstore and like just picked up this random one or whatever, so
Yes.
yeah, it's an interesting conversation because it's like I completely understand why, like, especially folks that are trying to get into those the laureate positions and different levels like that, like I understand why within poetry we have to play the game a little bit with that, but like at the same time I think the DIY spirit of some of this kind of just more like kind of down to earth version of it, I think that I would hope that we come to a point where we never lose that, because that almost feels
Mhm.
like more fundamental, in a way fundamental to
Yes.
the experience almost, right? Like because it's like you're taking a piece of that person home with you, and like it's
Exactly.
yeah. That's cool.
And I also feel like not in like a bad mouth way, but like there's a lot of poets who have a lot of like of these big publishings, and I get like we all got to make our money at the end of the day. So maybe like trading your book is not for you. It is for me cuz I'm going to buy it anyway. But there's a lot of people who won't even like take the time to sit and talk to those people with the cardboard books. And I think that alone is also very harmful to the community, especially somebody who started in the like little rinky dink high school slams. Like while I don't consider myself like this big, all high and mighty poet, like if somebody came to tour or if they came to talk at our school, like if you sat down to talk to me, like it was the biggest deal in the world, like no matter what level of poet you were at, you know?
Right. Absolutely. And, I guess just to kind of bring it full circle, like, would you say that like Salt Cured Collective, like that part of the idea there is to kind of connect artists so they can maybe have a better experience in those types of environments and kind of maybe like learn how to navigate that stuff? Is that kind of a sharing of knowledge kind of collective vibe?
Yeah, 100%. I think like we all have different experiences that need to be passed around, and like especially here our high school scene no longer exists
Oh,
because the funding got pulled. So I that's one of the things that we're trying to work on to bring back because I think it's so important. Like while they maybe don't need to start at a high school level, I think like if they have the opportunity and they want to start there, like give them the resources. Or if
yeah.
people are in their like we had a an older lady, I think she was like in her 80s, and she was like, I just liked reading poetry, but then I found like the slam and now I just come to say stuff at the open mic. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, like
Yeah.
every
There's
level.
no like cutoff to when you can start.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to your point, like I'm thinking like we just recently did our finalist interviews for the next Clark County Poet Laureate here in Las Vegas. And, one of the questions we asked the candidates was, like why do you write poetry? Like where did that start? And like how did that start for you? And I would say most of our finalists had something in their answer that touched on like that fact that that they started in high school. So it's a real shame
Mhm.
that and I it's interesting. I'm not aware of any. We definitely don't have any widespread slam programs in our high schools out here, which shouldn't come as a surprise, I suppose.
Yeah.
But the idea of I guess the idea of like DIY is maybe that's just a theme that's like sticking in my head now after our conversation, but it's sort of like, okay, well, if if this tool doesn't exist yet, sometimes we have to build it for ourselves. And
Mhm.
or if the funding doesn't exist, we have to build it for ourselves. And like I think that there's something I don't know. I think there's some, like that gives me hope because there's some like, it's the passion that gets you there, right? Um
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Sammy, I don't want to keep you over too much, but is there any last things you want to share with folks? I'm going to drop your website in the chat here so everyone can follow you there. But, do you have any final thoughts? Do you want to, share kind of what you got coming up besides the Bebe, which congratulations.
Thank you.
But yeah, just, let people know where they can follow you and we'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah, I like I said, haven't really been active the last few months. But my Instagram is probably where I'm the most active. It's Sammi, Sammi is poetry. Um, and if I have anything going on, that's usually where it's shared. Um, I would say if you are like stuck, you feel like you have a poem to write, but maybe it's not coming out. Um, Listen to some poems, go sit outside, touch grass, listen to poems. Makes a difference in sitting in your house. Um, have a emotional support notebook and water bottle, and it helps a lot. I promise.
And go forth.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, last thing I'll just share out with everybody, and I'm going to share the link for this in the chat as well. So I know not everyone who attends these is local to Clark County, but if you are, or you just happen to be in Vegas in beginning of September, we are having our big Celebrating Miss AV community event on Saturday, September 5th from 5 to 8 at Winchester Dondero. We're going to be celebrating the closing of the tenure of our current poet laureate, Ashley Vargas. It's going to be an amazing event, y'all. If you're in Vegas for it, please do come out. It's free. But other than that, thank you so much, Sammi. This was a really cool workshop. And honestly, I liked our conversation towards the end. I hope that was helpful for folks or interesting for folks. But other than that, I'll just say, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your Saturday, and we'll see you next month.
It was nice meeting y'all.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Sammi, you can hang back for a second if you'd like.